All right, today is Friday, January 25th, 2019, and this is the Kubernetes CSI implementation meeting. For outstanding 113 related tasks, we have work in progress to clean up the README for the cluster driver register. One PR already went in, and then I think Saad, you requested some additional changes, so I think that it is still a work in progress. Hopefully by early next week we can be finished with this and be able to cut a new release. Next is updating the host path driver example. So I think, Vlad, you already checked in the initial stuff. What else needs to be done here?
So the initial stuff with the help of Paul, and I think Saad had to go in and manually merge it. So that's in, and that has a script and documentation. The script is just show you how to basically what we would document to do manually. The script goes ahead and does that as far as setting up the driver. I'm not entirely sure what else we would need.
Okay, so this is basically the updated example for 1.0.
Yes, it points to 1.0, 1.x stuff.
Okay, cool. Then I will consider this done, and anything else that we do, will be improvements on this. But I think, at least from a 113 standpoint, I think we're okay.
Oh yeah, it is. I think the only other thing that I haven't paid attention to is maybe from the actual documentation page. Since a lot of this stuff is moved in Markdown, we'll probably need to rework the documentation to basically just point to to what's in the thing, to what's in the repository.
So yeah, maybe you can sync up with Saad on that. Saad is totally revamping the entire document site. So yeah, take a look at his PR and see if any pointers need to be changed.
Absolutely, will do. Thank you.
All right, awesome. And then yeah, that leads us into the docs. Saad, do you have an update on this?
Still working on it, little by little. Keep an eye out and help me review it. I think most of you have.
Okay, do you know how much is left?
Let me take a look. So if you go to the summary page, the sidecars are done, CSI, CRDs are done, features are, I believe I'm on topology or raw block, I forget which. So I need to finish the feature section, and then deploying, driver testing, drivers I'm going to rewrite, and then I'll leave troubleshooting as is. And references I'll leave as is, and then I'll delete the pages at the bottom there. So let's say halfway through the features.
Okay, you're somewhere halfway through features, and then everything else below too needs to be done.
That's right.
Okay, about halfway through. All right. I think this will be the last outstanding item related to 113. So, besides cleaning up the cluster driver register README. All right. We're making good progress now. Okay. So, miscellaneous topics. I noticed that the reconstruction tests are failing consistently. I think Jing has an issue open for this actually. And it looks like it's related. It looks like there's some timing issue between plugin registration and reconstruction, because reconstruction only runs once when kubelet initializes. So if kubelet restarts and a plugin takes a long time to become re-registered, it's possible it might finally get registered after we finished all the reconstruction setup or initialization, and then it won't actually reconstruct anything. So I think I discussed this a little bit with Jing on some possible solutions. I think we just have to kind of decide if that's the way we want to go. But I guess I'll discuss this offline with her and we'll make a decision on this. All right. Moving down to 114 items. Moving our CSI objects to beta. So David sent out an email and a document. I think you guys should have been on the email. If not, please check it out. David is basically proposing various workarounds that we can pursue so that we're unblocked while SIG architecture goes ahead and tries to figure out a long-term solution. So take a look at that document, read through the options and see if if you have any opinions on which option.
Is there a link here in this document for that document, or is it? Because I don't see an email. I just looked at it. I didn't see an email.
Oh, it was sent to SIG storage. Let me see if
SIG
I can
storage.
find
Okay.
it.
SIG storage.
Let's see if I can.
Yeah, if it was sent to the group, I'll just look for it. Don't worry about it.
Oh, I got it. Okay. I'll just post the link here too. All right. All right, so I think hopefully we're gonna try to get consensus on at least this document on what our workaround is going to be early next week. And once we have a consensus on that, I think then we can continue moving forward with whatever option we decide on.
Has the team read the doc yet?
I'm not sure. I think David sent it out towards the end of the day yesterday. So I'm not sure if people have had time to read it through yet. So I think we're gonna try to sync up with Tim either end of today or like on Monday.
It looks like Tim also started a doc on that long-term solution.
Yeah, that's correct. All right. So that's moving objects to beta. That's also sort of migration. Raw block beta. So I think we haven't heard from Ben in a while. I guess I will try to sync up with him offline to see if he still has time to drive this. And then next is inline volumes. Vlad, do you have an update on the KEP?
Oh, sorry, I was on mute. Yes, I just posted in the channel, the CSI channel, the latest version of the KEP. I've already been getting some feedback from several people, but this push this morning is more complete and has pretty much everything that we need for a design document. And so the question I do have is, since this is my first skip, I'm not sure what the deadline is, if it's a deadline for just having the KEP PR merged, or is it a deadline after which we cannot change the content of the KEP?
I think it's well, maybe Saad, you might know more, but I don't think we need to like come to consensus on the KEP
I
by
see.
the deadline next week. I think we just need to show that we have a KEP and we're actively working on it.
Okay. That's what I thought, but I wasn't sure. But I'll keep asking around just to get a firm
Yeah, I'm not
confirmation.
super positive if they wanted to be merged. I think there's like a status. Um,
Right. There's a
right, and
status
one
on the
of the
KEP itself.
statuses could be like it's still in discussion or something like that.
Yeah, it's like provisional, but I'm not sure if it means that it could be on my repo as opposed to being merged. So I got to make sure that when it's provisional, where does it need to live? So I'll check that out.
Okay,
But
cool.
it's ready for. I'd appreciate if you or Saad or Jan, I'll ping Jan to also take a look. But K Fox and Paul has already left some good comment on there.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, I'll add this to my list of stuff to review. I'll try to get to it today or Monday.
Thank you.
All right. Next up is snapshots.
So we do have that cap. It's being reviewed. A lot of comments. So still need to talk to Jean about that. I'll talk to her later today.
Sounds good. Cool. And all right, next is the refactoring and cleanup work. Vlad, were you able to get in touch with the Pivotal folks?
Yes, actually, I was just talking to one of them. So they're breaking up the list of PRs into, I guess, smaller PRs. So he has one I'm looking at right now. So what I'll do, I'll put it in a document. But the short of it is, yes, they're interested and they're gonna keep working on that.
Okay,
So
awesome.
I'll update the document.
All right, and are you going to have enough cycles to review those PRs?
I hope to. I'm not gonna get too close to them other than just reviewing them. But if it becomes an issue, then yeah, it'll. I mean, they're not critical PRs. I don't imagine. So if we miss a cycle, that's okay. I'm guessing.
Yeah, that should
Um,
be fine.
yeah. So I'm hoping to kind of squeeze it in and where I can, but we'll see, depending on the sizes of those PR.
Awesome, thanks.
Yep. Thank you.
All right, next is Patrick with revamping our CI process.
Yeah, Michelle at least has seen some of the pull requests already. We are in the middle of moving the build rules from copies that are maintained individually in each repository towards files that come from the new CSI release tools repository via Git subtree. And yeah, we merged the first two, I think. And I found one issue with pushing the Canary image, so I'm updating some of these. But the other pull requests that are currently pending, they are all ready to be merged. I think most of them are now assigned to Saad and in one case to Sergey. That's all progressing, I think.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I guess it might be good like before submitting the PRs for like all the repos at the same time, like submit it to one repo first so that we can test it out and make sure it works.
Yeah, well, it doesn't hurt. Well, I wasn't expecting problems, but of course, yeah, you never know until you actually do it.
Yep.
I was hoping to use the time zone differences to our advantage, but this has backfired a little bit. But we're actually fixing it before other people actually got around to looking at these pull requests.
Yep. Sounds good. All right. Is there anything else here? So I guess the other thing that is going around is like trying to get a bunch of like verify formatting scripts consistently to all the sidecars as well.
Yeah, and now that we have the CSI release tools repository, that's the place to put these additional checks, and then it will be relatively easy to just get them imported into the other repositories. Madhu was the one who started that for the external provisioner, and I think he agreed in that pull request to actually now continue based on the new shared repository. So more of that is going to come.
All right, awesome.
And we have one other cleanup guy currently doing things also with, I think it's our Markdown actually, that he's checking with some tool.
Yeah.
And yeah, if we want to enforce that, I'm not actually sure, because at least in one repository, the only change that he was suggesting is to replace the dash or the hyphen with a bullet for the list markup of lists. And I think that's actually something that is okay with the Markdown dialect that we are using on GitHub.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure how strictly we want to conform with the tool that he's using.
I see. Yeah, I don't really feel too strongly either way.
Yeah.
As long as it, displays nicely.
Yeah, that was kind of my feeling too. But on the other hand, it's nice to have a Markdown check, because otherwise you might end up merging a doc change or something without actually looking at the rendered MD file on GitHub, and then you might actually really break something that passes through the review process. So if he can tell us how he runs the tool and whether we can do it automatically, that might be a good enhancement.
Yeah.
Speaking of tooling, it's perhaps worth pointing out a few things that we've noticed recently. So the Go version is starting to matter. Part of my update to the various repositories is that the Travis CI script of Travis CI setup now uses Go 1.11 consistently once these pull requests are merged. And I found at least one repository, I think it was the external snapshot, where I actually had to reformat one source file because Go format is behaving a little bit differently. So people probably now need to start updating their local tool set to also be on the latest Go version.
Yeah, I think that's fine. If we stay closely with the Kubernetes core in terms of Go versions, I think it'll be easier for us in terms of development.
And Kubernetes, in fact, has updated to Go 1.11. I think they went through the entire reformatting thing at some point, and they are through with that. Yep. The other tool that we need to pay a bit attention to is dep, the Golang dep tool for updating the vendor. I think several repositories were created or were using an older version, and if we start using the latest released version, which is 0.5, the Go dep log file changes a bit. So I think we should all, from now on going forward, use the latest Go dep tool to avoid going back and forth between the two formats. It works, but we get unnecessary changes in the log file.
Yeah, I've noticed that. I think I don't even know what version of dep I'm running, but I've noticed when I do the vendoring changes, it adds a bunch of other metadata that didn't exist.
So you are using the newer version. There's something about which pruning options were active. That is now recorded in the log file.
Mm-hmm. Is there a way to enforce that? I'm not sure.
We could start running dep automatically in the CI or in a job to ensure that, but that defeats a bit the purpose of having the vendor file, because currently we benefit from just checking out one repository in a CI job.
Yeah.
I would just leave it as it is, and if people notice that there are unnecessary changes in the vendor directory, we should just point it out.
Yeah. All right. Sounds good. All right. Moving down to testing. So I think Shing, do you have an update on the snapshot tests?
So my coworker found there was an error when he switched to the 0.4.1. And then we found there was actually a bug that got fixed in Snapshotter later, after 0.4.1. That was not backported. So I submitted a PR to cherry-pick that. I don't know if we can. So what is the process if we want to cut a new image? Do we wait for a certain time, or because
No,
right now
I think we can cut as needed.
Okay, all right. So that will be easier. Okay, so if that's the case, I will just cut one, then we can test with that.
Sure. One question I had is, do we want to continue adding tests for 0.4, or should we start just adding tests for 1?
Yeah, well, so it might be more straightforward if we just test for 1.1. Yeah.
Because I think I think Saad, you deprecated support for 0.4. So I think in like 2 releases we're gonna.
Oh, okay. If that's the case, we'll just get rid of that part, then we can actually move faster. But I will just backport anyway, since we discovered that. But then we'll update the E2E test just to keep the 1.0. But it is true that he was mixed up with those two versions, 1.0 and 0.4. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Cool. So let's see. Last item is the external provisioner issues. Jan's not here, so hopefully we can get an update on that next week. Is there anything else anyone wants to talk about?
Yeah, we didn't get to the bottom of how to handle disconnects from the CSI driver. We started talking about that last Wednesday, but I think it's still open.
I thought there's a way to detect that.
But we can detect it, but the question then is, what do we do?
Oh,
do we kill the process? Yeah, that was one suggestion. The other is more gracefully reporting the error to the application and then expecting the application to terminate cleanly. So these two options basically exist.
Yeah.
One relies on properly written applications which check for this gRPC error code. The other is a hard kill, basically, without any kind of cleanup, without whatever the application might need to do when it terminates normally.
I guess from a strict library point of view, libraries probably should not be exiting whatever process they run in.
Yes.
On the other hand, this happens to be in a library, but it's like a common application logic that we're implementing. So
it is, but I think
it might be an exception. I'm undecided myself.
Yeah.
No, the library should never take it upon itself to exit.
Then we need to have someone reviewing the different sidecars and see what they do if they get a gRPC error code.
All right. What about just reporting it as an error in the library?
That's what would happen. So I think we were in the meeting. What happens is we are planning to have a connect function. If a sidecar connects using that function, and if a sidecar if the CSI driver exits, we lose a connection and we prevent reconnecting. So from then on, all gRPC method calls will return an unavailable status code. But if the application goes into some kind of retry loop without checking for that particular error, it will just be stuck forever, because this error will keep coming up for every future gRPC method call. And that's basically what an application then needs to check. It needs to check for this unavailable status code, which is doable, and then exit. But we need to be sure that this happens in all cases. That's the concern that we had.
Okay.
I guess you could have, I mean, maybe, I don't know, if you name the function very explicitly, then maybe it's okay to exit in a library. Like if you call the function, make RPC call and exit error. Yeah.
Usually with or die or something crazy like that. Yeah, I can buy that.
Then it should be at least like really obvious to whoever's calling this that this.
Yeah. Perhaps someone just needs to look at one of these sidecars and see whether we really have a concern about retry loops or whether that's just hypothetical.
I mean, the thing is,
do we know about it, some of them doing retries at the application level?
I mean, most of the sidecars are controllers, and controllers will inherently just retry forever.
Right.
Yeah.
And plus, once the process is killed, if you exit, then depending on the replica, it'll just restart anyway. So if there's an issue on the other side that you're trying to connect to, you'll just keep dying and reconnecting forever.
So I guess the thing is that so we decided not to automatically reconnect because we wanted to cache some driver data that might change if the driver restarted. Is that caching only relevant to one of the sidecars, or do all of the sidecars have this caching issue?
I think that's a question for Jan. He was bringing up the caching question. Okay. I don't know which sidecars do that.
Okay.
So
if it's just like one sidecar that's doing this caching thing, then maybe for that sidecar it can do connect without a reconnect, but then by default all the other sidecars automatically reconnect.
We can also have a function that just accepts a callback when it detects a disconnect, and then if the application doesn't care about that, it can just ignore that and let the connection handling re-establish a connection.
Oh, that might be good.
Then
I kind of like that approach.
And an application that cares can then do whatever it wants in that callback. It can exit, or it can update its cache, or invalidate the cache. That would all work.
Yeah, I like that idea of having having callers register a callback, so whenever we have to reconnect, we call them. I like that.
Okay. Well, we just have to be careful because it might happen. Well, I'm wondering whether that can be lead to timing issues. Like you get the callback in one Go routine, and in another you already start doing some work. But well, we'll let the application let application figure that out. In the worst case, all that they can do realistically is exit, perhaps. Or no, actually, I think we can make it reliable. Before connecting, we can call the application, and then it can exit, invalidate the cache, and then we reconnect. So that should take care of a timing issue.
Yeah, hopefully. Patrick, will you be able to update the bug with this proposal?
Yeah, I'll update the. It's an open pull request. I'll leave a comment.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else?
Yeah, there was something else that came up in the same pull request. It's adding more code now in a shared library that uses glog, the logging library. And I pointed out to Jan that Kubernetes itself has already switched to klog, a fork basically inside the Kubernetes organization. And I was suggesting that we do the same, starting with this new utility code, but then of course also in all of the sidecars who start using this version of a utility code, which basically means our next release in all of the sidecars should better use just klog instead of glog.
Yeah, that sounds fine. I think I actually saw some PRs by Humble that was converting glog to klog. So I forget if it was in the sidecars or if it was in the external provisioner library, but I think we could maybe get Humble to start working on that.
Yeah. Okay. In that case, we'll just do the same already in this new CSI libutils, and that'll be then compatible with the rest of the sidecars. One idea that Jan had was to have in that CSI libutils some utility code for setting up klog, because that basically means adding consistent command line parameters. I think that's worthwhile.
Yeah, I agree.
Otherwise, we'll end up having multiple copies of that same boilerplate code with potentially different names for the methods.
Yes. I think we already are kind of in that boat with some of our arguments. Like, I think a bunch of the sidecars have like their own leader election arguments that are slightly different, and timeout arguments that are different.
Well, I think logging that should be consistent. It's the same code underneath, so I think that there it will be fairly easy to come up with something that works across the board, I hope.
Oh, regarding leader election, so I think we are in the external snapshot. We have been waiting for a long time on which way to go, whether to follow the one in external attacher or the one in the provisioner. But I think I haven't heard any update on the work to replace endpoints with lease yet. Should we just go with anyone? Since the problem is if we don't have this leader election, and then someone is using other sidecars that has leader election, when they use snapshot, they have to say, okay, then you don't have a leader election support suddenly. That's just very bad. So it's just because we actually have a PR that's got stuck there for a long time waiting for this. I was wondering maybe we should just get that one in.
Okay. Let's see. Let's see. I'm gonna sync up. I'll sync up with Matt Wong, who I think was looking at this for the external provisioner.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll sync up with him and see if he's gonna be able to switch it over soon. If he can switch it over soon, then we should use a new way. Otherwise, doing the old way, I guess, is a stopgap solution.
Okay.
All right.
And also it's the attacher and the provisioner are using different ways, right? So if let's say we can't wait for him anymore, which one is better? It doesn't matter.
Oh, is one of them using the lease?
One is using endpoint, one is using config map. The attacher is using config map.
So there's a third option.
Right. I think we started doing the provisional way and then changed it to the attacher way. But then we're waiting.
Okay.
I was just wondering, maybe we should just get it merged now.
All right. Okay. I'll sync up with Matthew and see where he is on this and in terms of timeline and stuff. So.
Okay.
Yeah. But I think lease is the eventual way we want to go.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I thought.
All right. Anything else?
So I will be traveling for the next 2 weeks, so I may not be able to join this meeting because I'll be in China, different time zone.
All right, yeah, that's totally fine.
Yeah, we can, if you have anything, just ping me on Slack. So check
Okay.
messages.
Sounds good. All right. Have a great Friday, everyone. We will see you next week.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.